Hey, what's up guys? John here. Los Angeles is now offering landlords a class on how they can dip and dodge bullets, how they can fight off life-threatening bleeding, and how they can escape being attacked by tenants when they come to evict during the expiration of this eviction moratorium. Like, this is absolutely nuts. I swear, we live in a clown world because the landlords were told that they were going to be paid, and the tenants were told that everything was going to be taken care of for their safety. They need to, stay home, and they can't go out there and work, right? And so both sides have been lied to immensely over the last few years, coming up on 3 years, in fact, in about a month, about a month and a half. We're coming up on 3 years that this has been in effect. Now, landlords are still stuck holding the bill for taxes. You have to pay the taxes, you have to pay your insurance, you have to pay all of your expenses. But tenants were told, hey, don't worry, a big check is coming. Never happened. Well, now there's 800,000 renters behind on rent in Los Angeles County alone. This is a crazy story. This is a crazy situation because we're starting to see this landlord-tenant bias starting to take place. Los Angeles, New York City, a lot of big cities, we're starting to see, rent is a human right. All these narratives that are being spun against the landlord and property owners and investors. And a lot of these investors in Los Angeles is a location in which attracts a lot of immigrants from South America, Mexico, all these Latin countries. They come to California for a better life. They did in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They'd start a restaurant or a laundromat or, they supply value inside of their community. And they'd buy a house and they'd try to buy a little duplex, a little fourplex, be their little retirement plan. And now a lot of these landlords are in a bad situation. Los Angeles is a situation, it's a place that offers a lot of risk to landlords these days. And now these landlords are going to be put into a situation in which some of them will 100% get attacked. Out of 800,000, you do the numbers. I mean, is the percentage zero? No. A lot of these tenants, they don't have anywhere else to go. So when you evict someone that doesn't have anywhere else to go, that's been lied to for the last 3 years, inflation's record high, the economy is not where it used to be. Where are these people going to go, right? They're going to probably do something. Some of them are probably going to do something that they otherwise wouldn't do. And now this situation, it seems to be escalating, especially now that these landlords are taking self-defense classes. I mean, these landlords aren't 25 years old for the most part, probably 65 years old. They're mom and pops. And now this is getting crazy. I had my own situation in Los Angeles County. This is probably 5 years ago where I was attacked by a tenant. And it was a situation that I will never forget. This lady, she had something wrong mentally because she just had lawsuits and problems with everyone that she would come in contact with. And anyway, I went over there to on the side of the building and I looked at a water heater and she let her dog out on me intentionally. And the dog was biting me and she was saying stuff like sick 'em, like that kind of, trying to bark commands at the dog for the dog to keep biting me, knowing that I was landlord. I restrained the dog. I called the cops. The cops came. She went to jail for 3 days, and the judge issued a 3-year restraining order where she had to keep her distance from me. Now, this is pretty crazy, right? This is before the madness. So some people might see this article and be like, oh, it's fear-mongering. It's not real. This stuff is real. This stuff is real, and it's going to get more real. Take a look at this. So LA landlords train for potential attacks from tenants. And so I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to show you this part right here. It says that they are enter the self-defense classes, which began last year because of concerns about increased violence against landlords. The course teaches property owners and managers how to stanch life-threatening bleeding, maintain 360 degrees of awareness, and take cover from bullets and disarm shooters. This is a situation in which landlords even have to consider. They have to think about this in LA County. I'm betting that we're going to start to see a lot of landlords say, you know what, is it really worth it? Do I want to go through, this type of situation where the city doesn't have my back? The price to insure this property, it's only getting more expensive every single year. We're having higher defaults, higher probabilities of having an issue with a tenant. Now we have these, potential energy upgrades that are going to be coming down the road that they're already talking about. A lot of landlords are going to start leaving the business. There's no doubt about it. I actually think it's probably going to be a great time to be a landlord and like a year or two in Los Angeles as we start to see a flood of people leave the business as interest rates rise. A lot of people just get squeezed out. There will be opportunity to be a landlord, but right now we're at that crossroad where It's just not here yet. People aren't aware of just how bad this is. So I'll read this article because this is pretty nuts to me. As the eviction moratorium in Los Angeles market ends, landlords are preparing for potential fisticuffs with violent tenants being booted for not paying rent. The Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles is hosting a self-defense class for landlords and property managers. The Landlord Advocacy Group hired ex-cops from the Oregon-based Health and Safety Institute to help landlords train for potential attacks from irate tenants, transients, and more. In this, a lot of people lost their jobs, lost their family, and the last thing they have is their home. Exactly. That is one of the big concerns. When people are pushed into that corner and they have nowhere to turn, nowhere to go, they have all their stuff inside, and now the landlord's knocking on the door saying you got to get everything out, and they have nowhere to go. You can bet at 800,000 renters, there's going to be a percent, maybe 1%, 2% that take violent action. But 1 or 2% out of 800,000 people, it's like a war zone. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, but you just look at the numbers: 800,000 renters. You have these tenants that have been lied to the last few years, landlords that have been lied to. Both sides have been pinned against each other. No one was taken care of because they were both misled, and now they're basically pushed for those two to resolve the problem when the problem is the city is itself. A former traffic cop told a self-defense class this month, the association's office in Koreatown, you're taking the last thing that they have. This is their worst day. I'm not trying to scare you, but you need to be prepared for that. Until February 1st, landlords could not evict tenants in the city of Los Angeles who cited 19 as a reason they couldn't pay rent. The recent conflicts between tenants and landlords inspired the Apartment Association to host classes. And they took this class known as the Active Violence Emergency Response Training. County eviction protections expire March 31st, while the city of Los Angeles ended January 31st. The Apartment Association sued both the city and the county over their eviction protections and had lobbied to end the eviction moratorium. In response, and I actually think that we are going to start to see another eviction moratorium in Los Angeles County. I don't think this is over by any means. I would not be surprised if they let this go, they let this lapse for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and they brought it back, or they extend it before this expires. All of which will just make the situation snowball into a bigger problem. In response, the city of Los Angeles enacted a renters protection package requiring just cause evictions. Enter the self-defense classes, which began last year because of concerns about increased violence against landlords. The course teaches property owners and managers how to staunch off life-threatening bleeding, they have to basically they're training for Army training. They have to maintain 360 degrees awareness. Like, they're going to be walking in and they have to, tuck each corner and work the room. This is crazy. A lot of these landlords, this is nuts. Like, these landlords aren't built for this. And nor should they have to be built for that. They bought in to the city to invest in real estate, to supply housing, and to build out a mutual beneficial transaction between a landlord and tenant. Landlord supplies housing, the tenant will supply rent, and that was the agreement that they had. But now everything is changing. In one video, a former narcotics officer tells the audience to strike in the nose with an open palm when fighting an assailant, or push your fingers into the eyes, and to consider scratching and biting. Much of the course focuses on preventing mass shootings. Another reason, said the Apartment Association started the class. And they talk about some of these situations here that landlords have recently went through, not in Los Angeles, but in places even like Florida. It says, we're afraid, agrees mom and pop landlady who declined to give her name because she was worried about the anti-landlord bias. She and her husband tell the group they came to learn how to deal with homeless people and tenants who get a little crazed and tenants who come after you with a video camera. In Opa-locka, Florida, a tenant is facing charges after he allegedly shot a spear gun at a landlord last fall. Another 80-year-old landlord was stabbed with a sword when he attempted to evict several tenants who allegedly hadn't paid rent. What do you think about this situation? Do you think that Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles, state of California, should be the one to remedy this situation that they caused? Or do you think that this is a situation that should be solved between landlord and tenant? This to me, I think, is something that's going to boil up. I think we're going to see a lot of big stories coming out of this. Out of 800,000 renters, the odds of 1% of them not having a huge conflict is very, very unlikely. It's just my opinion, but 1% of 800,000, 8,000 situations, It's a big number. It's a big, big, big number. Drop it below. Hit the like button. Subscribe here, and subscribe also on my second channel. It's an interactive call-in show and a podcast. If you want to invest in real estate, maybe not in Los Angeles now, but maybe you want to invest in real estate in about a year and a half, to maybe a year, 2 years, as everything starts to really, really change. Some big opportunities there. You want to fix your credit in advance, or if you want to invest somewhere else and you want to get the best mortgage, you need to have the best credit, 740 and above. We'd love to help you at greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com. Give us a call at 561-430-5900. Subscribe on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok up in the banner for short form content. Catch you guys in the next video.